Whoa, it's Monday coming off of a long weekend. Boy, it's hard to get back in the groove after you just spent all these days with family and friends and eating and all of that good stuff. But we're here in the Foster Life studios, and today's not too bad for a Monday because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things, and that's babies. Oh, when we get these bundles of joy in, sometimes we just don't know exactly what we're supposed to do, and we don't have a lot of information. And so we wanted to give you a little bit of information about our experience and talk about withdrawals, baby shaken syndrome, some of the things that these little bundles of joy come with when they come to our home, and kind of what to expect and some different things that you can do. We got Courtney Lavelle on the show, and she's on the show once a week, every week. Super educated. She's got a master in forensic psychology and a bachelor's in social work, and she always has a lot to share and a lot of information that's helpful for us. So as we're pumping it out on this Monday, we're going to be talking about babies. Courtney Lavelle will be with us right after these messages right here on Foster Life. Hey everybody, it's Rob with Foster TV. This Wednesday, we're going to be talking about 6 ways you can get involved and support the foster care community. There's 439,000 kids in care, and it takes a village, an army, to support and take care of the kids in state custody. Join us Wednesday on Foster Life, only on Foster TV. Foster Life, it's Monday after Thanksgiving. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I had a great Thanksgiving.
Good.
So much food.
Yeah, so much food. And even as a vegan, I get to eat so much at the holidays. I didn't, of course, have any turkey or ham or anything like that, but we did have a lot of vegan and stuff. So today, tofu. I've had it before, but we didn't have it on Thanksgiving. So today we're talking babies.
I love babies.
Everybody loves babies, and we like babies. We have, well, right now we have 4 in diapers, if you can imagine. And we thank all of our viewers who support us in our diaper drive every year. This year, instead of doing the diaper drive, we're actually going to give back to the foster community for birthdays and things like that, because we're at a point where we can do that. And so we're going to do that instead of our diaper drive this year, coming up at the first of the year. So babies. When we get these babies in, so many times the reason why they're coming into care has something to do with the baby.
Yeah, most often they're drug-exposed infants. Yeah,
so drug-exposed infants. Baby shaken syndrome is a big one. Neglect. Meaning that maybe, and we talked about this the other day on the show, neglect, maybe the parents didn't know how often you should change them or feed them, and so they were neglected. And when we say neglect, we need to all remember that maybe this isn't neglect on purpose, this was neglect due to education.
Yeah, education or even developmental delay.
Right.
Sometimes just have no idea that that's what they're supposed to do.
Right. Yep. And you can die from a diaper rash. We just covered a story in Iowa a couple of weeks ago where the kid died from a diaper rash from neglect, that type of thing. So we have to take that. But I want to kick off this first segment and talk about withdrawal. A lot of times we take in babies that are withdrawing, not always from street drugs.
Right. Sometimes it's like mom takes lithium or takes a medication to calm themselves, like Xanax or Prozac, and those all have withdrawal symptoms in infants as well.
Right. So here's the thing that I need everybody to kind of get out of their mind right now. Sometimes the prescription medications that our little treasures are addicted to were prescribed by a doctor.
Yes.
And they were prescribed to mom by a doctor. And they're still addicted. So we all need to remember that. Now, there's sometimes that there's medications that they test positive for that were not prescribed by the doctor.
Right.
And with our opioid epidemic that's going on, I think that that's common too. And then there's some times that they're addicted to actual street drugs. Yep. So, Courtney, I'm going to let you kind of take it away. You were doing a little research. So what types of things are we going to see with withdrawal from an infant? So first of all, before I turn it over to Courtney, I'm going to set this up a little bit. When a baby is born and they test positive for different substances, one of the things that we see is they're going to have a stent in the hospital. I've never had a kid that tested positive and came home. I mean, there's a stent in the hospital. And when I say stent in the hospital, I'm talking a couple of weeks to a couple of months, depending on the child, depending on the addiction, that type of thing. So what are some of the things that we're going to see? And
sometimes that stent can just be a couple of days, but generally they're not discharged 24 hours after birth.
Oh, right.
Like non-addicted babies.
Right, exactly. And it depends on how hardcore they used. Is going to depend on how that stent is.
Yep.
Okay, so let's take a look. What can we see with withdrawal?
So withdrawal is really easy to notice. They're going to be wakeful. They're going to be really like almost wide awake, irritated. They're not going to be able to sleep for long periods of time. They're going to be, again, irritable. They're not going to be able to self-soothe at all. They're going to have a really high-pitched cry.
Right.
It's going to be the most noticeable withdrawal symptom that they have is this high-pitched cry that seems out of the ordinary. Like they're in extreme pain. They might have tremors. They might twitch. They're going to be hypertonic, so they're gonna have really stiff muscles.
Right.
They might even have what's called a fall response, so they could be perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden they're just gonna jump. Like their muscles are just gonna twitch out of control, and it looks almost like they're trying to get up and walk away.
Right.
You're gonna see diarrhea, sweating. Again, that high-pitched cry will come in during that time period. They're not going to be able to be rested at all, so they're not going to sleep.
Right. And some of the things that we have seen that will kind of help you. So sometimes when we take them into our home, so maybe the morning goes really smooth, and then maybe around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they just have this long period of crying, irritable, that type of thing. And our doctor has told us, and she worked in the NICU for many years, that basically what happens is, especially with street drugs, usually the baby will start that at the time that the mom would use that drug. So if the mom, went to work every morning while she was pregnant and she did her job and everything, and then she came home and she used, usually about the time that she used is going to be the time that you're going to see that child start crying, needy, that type of thing.
And you're going to see that in babies who not only were exposed to illegal, illicit drugs,
right,
but if their parents smoked while they were pregnant, you're going to see that after feeding time, because that's most likely when mom would have smoked a cigarette, or if there's a high-stress situation, you're going to see that response.
Right, exactly. And I think the other thing that we have found with children that come into the home that are addicted, tight, tight, tight. When I say tight, I mean tight. So what we do is we wrap them like a burrito. Okay, so we put the hands next to their body, and then we wrap the blanket as tight as we can. And the tighter you can get them, the better they feel soothed. And I don't know, do you know why that works? I don't know why it works, but I'm glad that the doctor told us about it before we took our first one in.
So it's a sensory thing. When an infant can't self-soothe, they need sensory stimulation to soothe them. So they might respond to that tight that tight wrapping, like a burrito. Sometimes people call it swaddling.
Right.
But it's really, really tight. They might respond to being set in the swing better. Bouncing sometimes helps, or just like tight massage of their muscles can help.
Right. So one of our children that came to us was in the hospital for a long period of time because the withdrawal was just taking so long and all of the medication and that type of thing. Unfortunately, the mom in this case did not come see the child a lot during the time the child was in the hospital. And so he is what we call a headbanger. Yep,
some failure to thrive, self-soothing stuff.
Right, so what he learned was because all these nurses and doctors and people are busy in the hospital, what this child learned is by headbanging, that would put him to sleep. And so we got this child at 2 months old, and that's how he put himself to sleep. And to this day, and he just turned 2, he's still what we call a headbanger. And so you want to really work with an occupational therapist, and also you want to make sure that that child sees a neurologist as soon as that, because what we want to make sure is that could be a sign of a seizure too, or it could just be a sensory self-soothing mechanism as well. But you want to make sure that you get the best care for that child as well. When we come back, we're going to talk more about substance abuse with these little bundles of joy coming from the hospital. And then we'll be moving on, talking about babies here on Foster Life. Welcome back to Foster Life. It's Monday after Thanksgiving. Whew, there's only so many days left till Christmas. And we have started our Christmas shopping. I think we have all of our kids done except for one, and we have 10. And I don't like to shop. Yeah. Are you a shopper?
I am a shopper. I love to shop.
Oh, wow. Well, next time I'm taking you with me.
Absolutely.
I don't mind online shopping. It's the lines and stuff at the actual stores that I'm not too keen about.
I don't mind. I even do the Black Friday stuff. Like, I stand in those ridiculously long lines and listen to people yammer on about towels and electronics.
Kill
I love
me
it.
slowly. I spent the day in the Foster TV studios, and I was totally fine with that on Black Friday. So we're talking babies today and withdrawal symptoms. We were kind of going through what you can expect when you're bringing a baby home and that type of thing. And we left off with swaddling. That's one thing that we've really found has worked well with our little bundles of joy. One of the things that you want to do when you're getting a child in that has withdrawal, in your state, you should have a service. We call it here First Steps, but it kind of depends on your state what you call it. And it's a service where they come in and they provide occupational therapy, physical therapy, play therapy, and speech therapy. Yep. And a baby is not too small to receive those services.
Not at all.
So what kinds of things are you going to see with babies that are coming into care, and why would they need to receive those services?
So I think one of the questions that everybody says is an infant doesn't need speech therapy, but one of the things that we see that's common with withdraw babies is that because of those tight muscles, their jaw muscles are so tight that they can't suck on a bottle, on the nipple of a bottle, and so they need some help learning how to do that. And sometimes the foster parents need some help learning how to teach them to do that. Right.
And also, that speech therapist is even going to show you how to hold the baby. So we had our daughter, when she came home, my little girl, that I love to death. When she came home, you had to hold her, the butt here, the head to the side. So you almost had to twist your arm and then hold her this way and make sure her neck was perfectly straight so that that milk wouldn't run down, and so that you stimulate, I think, those muscles. And so that speech therapist is really going to be able to help with those things as well. Also with our withdraw babies, tummy time.
So important. It's important for any baby to do tummy time, but it's extremely important to almost double the amount of time with withdraw babies on tummy time. And
they not necessarily are going to like it.
No, they're going to hate it.
Yeah, they're going to hate it and they're going to scream. But that physical therapist that comes to the home is going to help be able to put that in place and get you through that and help you to learn how to do that with them. Now, with that service, the coolest thing about that is they're not coming in for the baby. They're coming in to teach you.
Yeah, they're you know, there's not much you can teach a baby.
Right.
But they can show the foster parent what positions to hold the child in,
right,
how long to leave them in tummy time, how to stretch out their muscles, because a lot of times, you know, the physical therapist is going to have you lay them on their back and do lots of motions with their muscles to like loosen them up a little bit so that they start holding up their head and they start reaching for things and making that eye contact.
Yeah, and when their arms are like this, how you can secure that and then you can gently pull open their arms, but you want to secure this area here too. So they're going to teach you the correct ways to work with those children. And the best thing about a service like that I like is they're going to assess really early which part of the brain that baby's using. So when we look at a baby and we look at the brain, they don't have the ability to focus on both sides of their brain. So they usually focus on one or the other. And so some babies are going to be really verbal. Like the baby we have right now, she's really verbal.
Yeah, she's a babbler.
Yeah, and you probably heard her in some of the shows that Courtney and I have done. She sits on the set and she babbles and babbles and talks and babbles. And so she really uses that side of her brain. Now, the little boy that I'm talking to about that came to us, he was trying to roll over and he was really physical. So that therapist that comes into the home, they're going to be able to assess what is it that we really need to do. Are we really trying to stimulate more of that physical or that verbal and give you the guidance that we need to do in order to be perfect with that?
Yeah, because like everyone, like every baby, there are strengths and there are weaknesses, and they're coming in to figure out what those are and build up the weaknesses so that we're more on an even playing level when we get to school age.
Right. When we come back, we're going to be talking about baby shaken syndrome right here on Foster Life.
Come on, Angie, it's time for the Foster Christmas Challenge.
Hi folks, it's Mama T here with Mama T's Cooking Big. Join us for the Foster Christmas Challenge.
It's so simple. All you have to do is click share on this video right here and share it with your friends. After you've done that, go buy gifts from 0 to 19 and take a picture or a short video of you with your contribution or your family with their contribution, and post it on the Foster TV Facebook page. After you've done that, deliver them to the local DFS or Family Services Division, and they'll make sure that they get to a foster child in your area. Then it's real simple. Go back to Facebook, and challenge 3 of your family or friends to get involved as well. Now, I don't have to challenge you to be a part of the Foster Christmas Challenge, so please share this video today and get involved. Let's make a huge difference for the thousands of kids that believe in Christmas and Hanukkah this Christmas season, right here on Foster TV. Welcome back to Foster Life on this Monday after the holiday. We're talking babies today. We just got done talking about withdrawals, and now I'm going to talk about something that is baby shaken syndrome.
You might know it better as shaken baby syndrome.
Oh, shaken baby syndrome, baby shaken, yeah, whatever. Shake. One, don't ever shake them, ever. Even if you're playing with a baby, you don't ever shake them.
Yeah, and before we really get into it, there's 2 things you should know. One is that they also call this acute abuse syndrome. So it's not that there's abuse going on in the home, but
Right.
it's that split moment of, I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to do this. And second is that this literally can happen to anyone.
Yep.
You're at your wit's end, and you're like, they're crying, they're screaming, I don't know what else to do. So you shake them, and you've done damage.
Yep.
And that's when, I mean, that's how it happens.
And you
Everyone-
can't go back.
Yes,
So-
you can't take it back.
The first thing I want to encourage you to do as a foster parent, and I have lots of babies, and they cry. Babies cry. Sometimes babies scream. They're teething, they're withdrawing, they're whatever. And they cry.
Yeah, that's what
And you don't know what to do. I'm going to tell you what I do. Here's my secret. Here's what Rob does. Rob goes, he puts the baby in the crib where they're safe. I cover them up, and I go and I walk away. And I go to my kitchen, and I take some deep breaths. I maybe get something to drink. I maybe get a little snack. And I take some deep breaths. I calm down. Because you can feel when you're starting to get agitated. And then I go back and I tend to the baby.
And what's really important to remember is that when you're in a state of high anxiety
Yes.
and you are struggling, you can do nothing to help this child calm down and soothe themselves. Nothing. So all you can do is put them somewhere safe, whether that's a swing or a crib or a playpen. All of those are safe areas, and
Yep.
walk away.
Or their little cradle and walk away. And here's the other thing. Because you brought up a really, really good point in this. They can sense if you're stressed. If they can tell that I'm stressed because I'm trying to get this done and they're screaming and stuff and I'm all upset and I'm holding them, they can sense that. And a lot of times if you just go disconnect, come back, and you can get it taken care of.
Yep.
And that's the most important thing to do. Now, we get them into care, and we didn't do the damage, but here's what we should know. The first thing I suggest, and I think Courtney will agree, neurologist.
Yes, absolutely. Because what's happened when they've been shook, so you've had the baby, you've shaken the baby, what's happened is their brain has slammed up against the skull.
Right.
And so it's done, like, it's basically bruised the brain or done even more damage to the brain.
Right. And so you want to get a neurologist and their recommendation.
Yes.
Secondly, services. And what types of things are we looking for in services with a child that has a major brain injury?
We're looking at the same things as when they're withdrawing from an opioid or an illicit drug.
Right.
Physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy.
Yep. And get those people in, and they're going to tell you what to do. Now, anytime they have a major brain injury, what are some tools that we need to use with the child that will help them in that development process of moving away from the brain injury?
So now it's all about protecting the brain. We have to protect it. There's going to be a lot of growth during this young period of time. So
Yes.
the best thing to do is, I mean, it sounds silly, but get a helmet. Like,
Yep.
put that helmet on them everywhere they go. If they're going out on a bike ride, you always put a helmet on your kid for a bike ride. But now
Exactly.
you need to do it in the car. You need to do it when they're running around the house, when they're playing, if they have brothers and sisters, all of that stuff. Protect the brain.
Right. And wherever you're getting your services for your therapist, your occupational therapist, your physical therapist, play therapist, those people can get you those tools free of charge, so that when they're playing in the car, wherever, because the way you want to think of it when you have a kid that has a major brain injury is you want to think, if tragedy struck in our home or in the car, what can I do preventatively to protect that brain since it's already been damaged?
Yep.
And so you want to do that as well. Also, what are some other things that we can use?
You can use weighted vests or blankets. Those help with sensory and cognition and just being able to focus their brains so that their brain has that time to heal.
And also that weighted vest is going to make them feel secure. And a lot of times if they've been through trauma or abuse, they need that secure feeling. And that's also going to help with behaviors. Yeah. So in our child that we saw that had some abuse, what we saw is when we got him the weighted vest, he had less behaviors because he felt like he was secure. He was safe. He was comforted. And so the weighted vest was kind of a lifesaver for us. One thing I want to tell you. When a kid comes into care or comes to your home and they have a brain injury, do not let anybody tell you what they're never going to do.
Yeah. Brains have such an ability to heal in young children.
Right.
That there's no way to predict how well they're going to do or if they're not going to be able to do something.
Right.
So when a caseworker comes in and says, well, he's never going to be able to talk, in 6 weeks you might hear him babble and start some verbal language.
Right. So in our case, we had a child that came to us, and there was like 23 things that this child would never do. He's not going to hear, he's not going to talk, he's not going to do this, he's not going to do that. And our child has surpassed every single one of those things. And I'll tell you what, if he was on the show right now, he would talk your ear off. And he talks very well. He does receive speech therapy, but he's a good talker. He can hear. He can do everything that they said he wasn't going to do. And a lot of it has to do with the environment that they're in.
Nurturing.
Yeah, if you're in an environment where you're providing services for the child and then you're working with them on an ongoing basis, you never know what that child's going to be able to do.
That's absolutely right. It's all about, they say nature versus nurture. The nature's happened, now you're going to nurture the correction back into the brain.
Right. So coming back up to after this, we're going to talk about babies coming into care with disabilities after these messages right here on Foster Life. Welcome back to Foster Life. We have Courtney LaBelle in here today, and she's on once a week. I'm so glad that you're a part of our show.
I love it. Thank you for having me.
Well, I think it's going to be good. It's you just seem like a part of it. Now Mama T comes on here, every once in a while, and she has a new show with us. But I was telling her that I used to have another woman on a TV show, and her and I worked really well together. But I just love, because Mama T and you are just kind of like my second Mimi, and we work well together, and I like having it, and it seems like we have a good flow, and I like that. And we always have plenty to talk about. And I hope I really do hope that it's helpful for you if you're a foster parent, adoptive parent, kinship parent, or even a bio parent. I hope that something that we talk about is always helpful for you and gives you an idea and kind of puts you in the right direction. Today we're talking about babies, and they come with different things. And I'm reminded about a woman that was on the Today Show about a year ago. And she's a foster mom. I wish I knew her name. And I probably will get it, because I would love to have her on the show sometime. She only fosters kids that are terminally ill.
Oh, That's such a hard job.
Could you imagine what her job is like?
She must have such a big heart. I can't even imagine, like, knowing that they're going to pass away.
Yep.
Oh,
And that's all she does. And I was so taken back by this woman because I thought, you know, here I am thinking that we're really doing a mission here. And then I think about what she does every day. Also, I think about the 2 men in Canada. And that video went viral all over Facebook. And they only take in children with disabilities.
Yeah.
And some of those babies are wheelchair bound and stuff. And that's all they take in. But I bring that up because if you're taking a child with disability, you have to really make sure that you're set up for that as a family. If you have a job that requires you lots of your time, you can still foster and be a great foster parent, but you're probably not going to want to foster a child with disabilities.
Well, and in our state, if you have a medical needs child, one parent has to be staying home.
Right. Yeah. So and that's kind of why we do that. But they take a lot of time, and they take a lot of love, and I don't know if I should say but my babies that have special needs like that, I'm really choosy about who is even able to stay with them. Just because they have needs above and beyond a normal child. So if you're taking in a child with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, what was the one you said? Spinal bifida.
Any kind of spinal cord injury.
Any kind of spinal cord, brain, whatever. My first piece of advice is be connected.
Yes, absolutely. There are so many, and there are so many support groups out there, but also, you know, we have this wonderful thing called the World Wide Web.
Right.
That allows you to connect with people all over the world who do the same thing, who have medically ill children.
Yep.
And it's really important for you to get that support.
And you cannot do everything yourself. Services. When that caseworker comes to the home, you ask her or him, what services are available to me to help the success for this child? It takes an army anyway.
Yep. And it takes an even bigger one with medically ill children.
Oh yeah. And you got to tap into those services.
Absolutely. Those things are going to be lifesavers literally for the child and for you. You know, you can't live your life in the home with this medically ill children 100% of the time.
Nope.
You need to go out and grocery shop. You need to go out and have adult interaction.
Exactly.
Because those things keep you healthy to keep them healthy.
Right.
So use those in-home nurses when you can get them. Use those respite providers that can take medically ill children when you can get them.
Yep. And have people come into your home. One of the things that I love about our church and our community is I had, and I have now, ladies that love kids. And so I would be home, and in one case they went to our church. In another case, she works at one of the companies here locally. And so I don't necessarily leave, but they'll come and play with the kids and spend time with them and do things. And that gives me the opportunity to do things around the house, clean, do laundry.
Eat a meal.
You know, eat a meal, yeah, and kind of disconnect a little bit so that I'm good for that child later.
Yeah.
I have a lady that used to come to our house and she washed toys. She liked to clean, so she just came to me and she said, "Can I come and wash toys?" Well, if you're taking a child that has a disability or an illness, washing toys is really, really, really important. Because if you have a baby that is going through withdrawal, their immune system, I'm telling you folks,
It's shot. They're going to get sick a lot.
yeah. And you got to keep them toys clean. You got to keep your house clean. And so sometimes that means using those services in order to get those things done to provide the best service that you can.
Yeah, be vocal about what you need. Like, your caseworker is going to help you. That's their
Right.
job. If they're not doing their job, there's somebody above them who will make them do their job.
Right.
As a caseworker, I never want to say, well, if they're not doing their job, go to their supervisor, because that's always tough. But at the same time, you have a medically ill child in your home who needs this service, and if you're not getting it, then you need to go above and beyond for them, because that's your job.
Also, lastly, if you take in a medically ill child, make sure that you are being compensated correctly. And in 2 of my cases, I'm the one that had to tell the social worker, shouldn't we be receiving medical pay on this child? And then they started the process. They don't necessarily always come to you and say, you know, you're going to receive medical pay on these. And you cannot feel guilty about that. If you're putting that kind of time and energy into them, you should be receiving the best compensation or reimbursements as possible. Because with my medical kids, what I find is I'm doing more doctor's appointments. I'm doing more running, you know, because if they have any type of braces or helmets or anything, all of those things have to be adjusted and taken care of. So you're going to more appointments, you're having more people in your home, you're learning more, you're doing more documentation, because you want to document every time you give them any type of medicine. You want to document, you want to count your meds, you want to run it like a facility in that respect so that everybody knows what's going on. Because if you have a seizure come up, the hospital's going to want to know, when was the last time they had this? When was the last time they had that? Well, if you have 10 kids in your home like we do, I'm not going to remember the last time they had this and that. So I got to go back to my book and say, well, she had it this morning at this time, and da-da-da. So you got to document. So you should be compensated and reimbursed for that, for those things as well.
Well, and they have special dietary needs as well. Like, when you think about a child who has Down syndrome, you're looking at grocery bills that are above and beyond what you're used to, because they have to eat a very certain way to keep their systems running properly.
Right, exactly.
And to keep their weight at a level that's appropriate for their heart.
Right, exactly. All right, so today we've been talking about babies with Courtney Lavelle. It's been a great time. We'll be wrapping up right after this on Foster. Foster Life. It's been good talking about babies today.
I could talk about babies all day long.
I love them, and they're so much fun, and they bring a lot of joy to our house. One thing that we have learned also with our babies is if you have teenagers that maybe struggle with behaviors and stuff, they kind of calm them down a little bit, and they fall in love and all of that type of stuff, and we love them too. Yeah. So we are behind the Foster Christmas Challenge here at Foster Life. There's 439,000 kids in care, and we need to provide them Christmas and Hanukkah. And I understand that not everybody celebrates Christmas, but for the thousands and thousands and thousands of youth in care that do, we want to make sure that they have the Christmas that they deserve. Whether you're in California, New York, Florida, or Minnesota, you can get involved with the Foster Christmas Challenge. It's so simple. All you got to do is click share on this video right here, or go to our Foster TV Facebook page and click share on one of those videos there. Go out and buy presents for anybody from 0 to 19. You can get one thing, a million things, 2 things, how many things you want. Take a picture or a small video with your family and your contribution and post that on the Foster TV Facebook page. Once you've done that, call your local DFS or Family Service Office, or better yet, just head on down there. There's somebody there, unless it's a holiday, and drop off your contribution, and they'll make sure that it gets to a child in your county who needs Christmas, who's in care. After that, go back to Facebook and challenge 3 of your family or friends to get involved with the Foster Christmas Challenge right here on Foster TV. Coming up this week, we are going to be talking about so many good things, and we look forward to seeing you Wednesday and Friday right here on Foster Life.